Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we have to ask ourselves a very important question. How can we value the quality of our life if we don't value our life? That's what we are trying to say and what we are trying to prove in the proposition side. So, first speaker, one of the questions he asked was, what do we consider to be alive? We consider things to be alive when they are growing, whether they can breathe, whether they can feel, or whether they can hear or see. If they are growing, that means that they are alive. Because if they weren't growing, then they wouldn't be alive. So if we take this away, if we're going to completely use these for experiments and the use of other things because they are not alive, as you said, and because they can't think or breathe, then as the first and second speaker of the proposition side stated, then we would be able to experiment on people that can't think or that can't breathe because they are either brain dead, because they have diseases, because they have sicknesses. So you're going to take that right from them away because they can't think and they can't breathe on themselves. So if you're taking these values away from an embryo, then you're taking these values away from an adult, teenager, baby, or young person. He also said that it's going to help to put into a cup, it can help science. Well, yes, it can help science. And he says that it doesn't have a value and that people don't do it because of love. Well, actually, if you're putting someone's sperm into a cup, then that might actually help couples that don't have enough sperm cells because they can't have babies because of somebody's stage. And this will help also for say lesbian couples. They can use these sperms because they're sperm banks for people who cannot have babies, and people donate this. No, thank you. People donate their sperm cells to help these people, so they do have a value, and they're not just putting into a cup because they don't care and they want them to experiment with anything. You talked about increasing life quality, and it's going to help people that have problems or that have diseases. Yes, it can improve life quality maybe, but there are other methods. Whether it is not as easy or as fast, there are other methods. Because we do not think or believe that it is okay to kill a living thing. It is a living thing, and it has the right to live. And who are you? Hold on a second. And who are we to take that away from them just because they can't make that decision themselves? Yes.
How can you say that they're a living thing when they have no neurological connections, no physical and emotional feelings? How can we tell that anything is life?
Okay, then how can you tell that somebody that is brain dead or somebody that cannot breathe is a living thing because they can't think or breathe on themselves? Also, the first speaker talked about how it is easier. Well, yes, maybe it is easier, but is it fair? Is it fair to take this away from to take this opportunity away from these living things? No, thank you. Is it fair and is it reasonable? No, it is not. We think that they have the right to live. The first speaker on the proposition side talked about also, what about the mother's emotions or people that have miscarriages? Yes, they feel for these things because they are part of them already, because they are growing inside of you. Are you just going to experiment on women and you're going to impregnate them for an experiment? Is that part of human life or reproduction? No, we don't believe this. You kept going on about improving quality of life, and we believe that you should improve quality of life. But if you want to improve quality of life, you have to value life. And how are you going to value life? No, thank you. How are you going to value life how are you going to value the quality of life if you don't value life itself? You said it is worth a try to investigate through embryos. Well, we don't agree with this because you're taking these rights away from the living thing just because they don't have the knowledge yet, or they don't have the capacity to be able to make decisions. But there are a lot of things and a lot of people that don't have the basis to make these decisions because, as I said, whether they have a disease or a situation that doesn't let them do this. And we don't take that right away from them because they are a living being and they do have the right to live, whether they can make that decision themselves or not, because they're capable or not. And it is very unfair from the opposite side to say that they are not a living being because they can't speak, or because they can't breathe, or they can't think. They can't do these things on themselves, so you're going to take this away from them? And you're only talking about how you can improve further knowledge. Well, there are other methods of improving further knowledge. For say, you can experiment with sperm cells or eggs, but separately. We don't believe that they have to be in a developing stage, because once they are united, once they are united, what we consider to be embryos, that is when it is already a living thing, and it is we want to improve the quality of life. Improve quality of life without considering and valuing the life itself. Also, the second speaker in the proposition talked about the ethics of the scientific method. And yes, we believe that you should value this. And if you want to experiment, you can experiment other ways. You can try other things. As the second speaker in my proposition said about zebrafish and primates have 97% of compatibility in genomes of human beings. And you can experiment with them because as you might or might not already know, the discoveries and the solutions have been tried on animals before they are tried on humans. Because yes, it does help, and that implies that we do not hold on a second. That implies that we do not kill a living thing. Yes.
What is that? 2% difference is one that makes a difference. For example, Huntington's is only a disease.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that 2% might make a difference, but that 97% is still there and it's still valuable, and people are still using it because it is present, and we still take that into account. So we're not going to completely eliminate those chances because they're not 100% compatible, but they are still compatible in a certain way, and we believe that you should still use them. And a lot of discoveries have been made in faster and easier ways, as the second speaker and the first speaker said, because of human embryos. But as I said, and as the proposition site stated, just because it is easier, that doesn't make it correct. That doesn't justify the means of it. That doesn't make it the best or the good way to be able to improve it. Because if this was the way, then we could kill every single embryo in a person because oh, we want to experiment on them, and you're going to take that right away from people. And you're going to take that away from a human and a living thing that is already existing. Because it is an embryo that is growing. And when it is growing, that means in a state that it is alive. And you should not take that right away from them. And